All right, I'd like to welcome David MIKITKA.
Thank you. I always have to pay homage every time I talk about it, talk a lot, to how I grew up. That my parents, we weren't rich people by any means, and we were the kind of family and the type of household that when you needed something done, you just figured out how to do it. You did it yourself, and that has paid dividends my entire life. So nothing that I do with my art have I learned, and that's key to what I want to talk about here. Is that I've been told numerous times when I start discussing how I do things, I've had experts tell me you can't do that, and here it is. And I had that just happen yesterday. I had a broken piece of fused glass from an old thing, and I took it up to an unnamed glass studio on Magnolia.
I know.
And I handed it to him, and it was just two broken pieces of fused glass. I said, "Will you fuse this back together?" You would have thought I was asking for brain surgery. They explained all the reasons why that couldn't happen. I said, "Just put it in the oven, and it's been fused before." And they kept explaining why it couldn't happen. So I took it back and I fixed it myself in about an hour. So the other thing I want to say is I was in the first art talk, and you guys uploaded on YouTube.
Yes.
And the last time I looked, I'm up to like 31 views.
Okay.
So that's cool.
Woohoo! Viral.
And this is part of all the techniques that I do. Primarily right now, the basis of what I do is melting scrap aluminum and casting it into something.
Where do you get your scrap?
Hmm?
Where do you get the scrap?
There's a West Tex Metal up on North Main. They're the only place left that will allow you to actually go and pick metal out of their yard. No other place will do that anymore. But I actually go climb into their bins and pull out aluminum and stuff, and copper, and I get steel there sometimes. But again, going back to not only did we figure out how to do things ourselves, we never threw anything away, and always left it there and used it again for something. And this whole concept of making flowers, and there's those little flowers there. The steel spheres were just leftover scrap metal that I cut off of some other spheres for something else I made. And they were lying around for about 4 or 5 months. And then it just dawned on me one night. I said, I wonder if I could do that. And then solve that problem and solve that problem. And it turned out to, hey, I made a flower, and it was getting to be Christmas time, and all my staff members needed Christmas presents, so I made these little individual flowers.
Staff where?
And
Staff where?
Where I used to with my real mortgage paying career that I no longer do.
Okay.
And I'm retired from that now. But and so it just started out with that, and then another event came up about a month ago that you were there, and I made some gifts for the people that helped me with that, and I made a whole bunch of these extra flowers. And so I just made these little individual ones, and I still had a big pile of these little flowers. I thought, why don't I make a bouquet of flowers? And then that became, well, why don't I take these little steel balls, because a bouquet, or a natural landscape, there's going to be buds and so on. And so it was all just sort of like, I wonder if I could do this. And I'd never done this before, but it's like, well, let's try it. And trial and error, and it ended up like that. So I'm a real champion, like the last artist that was up, is don't listen to people that tell you can't do something, because there's no creativity in that. And I don't wear it like a badge of honor, but I've never had a class in art. I had some guy just teach me how to weld once. It was an instructor in high school taught me how to weld, and that started everything. So you just come up with an idea, and I'm too cheap to go and pay like a bronze foundry to do something. So I figured out how to take scrap copper and melt it with my acetylene torch and do something that it'll never be a bronze, but is pretty damn interesting. And another thing I do is I leave, unless it's really an egregious problem, I leave my mistakes in there. As long as they don't really detract from what I have, because that's what makes it real and that's what makes it honest. Because like us, we all have flaws, we all have problems, and that's what makes us human beings. And so that's what makes art real, is to leave a flaw. And I virtually never will tell people where the flaws are. They can either find them or not know where they are.
Is there a flaw now?
Yes.
I don't see it.
They're called happy mistakes.
Yeah, Bob Ross, the Bob Ross, there's no mistakes there, there's happy accidents. And Lori's actually seen a Bob Ross original hanging on somebody's wall when we lived up in Alaska.
Really?
Yeah, you went over to somebody's house and you walk by and you went, God, that looks like one of those crappy Bob Ross things, and it was a real Bob Ross. Signed, yeah. Anyways, I guess I'm a champion of the local artists. I've said that the last time. And I'm a champion of people just thinking of something new that hasn't been done before and not being afraid to try it, because if you screw it up, you learn a lot more by screwing something up than by getting it right the first time. And so this is the result of lots of mistakes that have happened in the past. So that's my story. Short and sweet. And if y'all go and look at YouTube with my name, I'll get up to like 39 views.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Thank you, David.
All right.
Yay!
Thank you.